All right, we're gonna do a video. I've got Benny and I've got Rowan together, and we're gonna have them both off leash, and we're going to walk up and down this driveway a few times, and I'm gonna see, kind of demonstrate how I get them to walk with me off leash, just using the remote collars and showing you kind of how to use them without scaring the dog, without hurting the dog. And you'll notice they still look very happy the whole time they're doing it. And I've done this a lot starting off with food. This time they're gonna get very few rewards or treats. I'm just gonna wanna walk like I'm walking downtown, like I'm walking at the park or on a trail somewhere hiking with them. And just gonna give them enough to keep their attention, but very few. I used to reward them like every 5-10 seconds just to get them wanting to walk next to me. Now I've got my food pouch here just so they're kind of looking at that, but they're not going to get a lot of rewards. And this is kind of how I'm going to start weaning them off the food so much. And because a lot of people ask me the same question, if I train my dog on treats, he's only going to do it when I have treats. That's not the case. You just have to start giving them less and less and less. And if you are having a really hard time breaking off the treats, then that means you haven't done enough repetitions with the treats. It's just that simple. Come on. Come. Sit. Good. Nope. Benny. Come. Come. Good dogs. Good dogs. So really only a couple times when I was stopped and giving them treats, that was just more to, just a little fun. Because I had all the dogs there with me, so I wanted to get them all incorporated. Benny, come. But on the walk itself, I think I gave him 3 treats. And you saw this last time I came up, Benny started going out ahead of me. All I did was hold this vibrate button in on the collar and change directions. And when he caught up, I let it go. Very little talking to him, very little looking at him. Rowan, come here. Very little looking at him, you know, just walking, looking ahead. A little trick, if you do this with the sun to your back, on one side you can just look at their shadows in front of you and not have to be walking, checking to see where your dog's at all the time. You can just kind of look down at the ground in front of you and you can see their shadows and you can see where they're at. So, Benny, no humping. Thank you. But this is just repetition, and the more I do it, the better they get. You notice they're both happy. Neither one of them were looking cowering down or looking fearful. Like right now, those aren't unhappy, fearful dogs. Riggs, no. Little prison love going on in there. All right, come on. So it's also the same thing right there. Benny started to get distracted and start to look over at Riggs, and I just buzzed the collar, bzz, vibrate until he looked straight ahead, turn it off. I let the collar do most of the work on those kind of things, so I'm not constantly having to say the dog's name, say the dog's name, say the dog's name. If all you're ever doing is saying the dog's name and you correct them, their name starts to be meaningless and you're just a nagging annoyance to them. So if you say their name, it has to either be, there has to be some action tied to it or a reward, at least for a while. Benny. Good boy. Rowan. And if you really want your dog's recall to get strong, just get a food pouch, and every time you reward them, say their name. Zeke. Riggs. Taters. Rowan. Benny. Good boys. Good dogs. So there is a good look at how they're doing. Couldn't be happier. Hey, couldn't be happier. Don't have to have them on a leash with me all the time out here anymore. I've got them now where they're just following me around, and they're kind of a joy to have around out here. And I let them be dogs when they're outside. When they're inside, we have to tone it down. And I'll use the collars in the building and correct them if they start getting too rambunctious and hyper. But if they're out here, this is when they can be dogs. When they're inside, they have to, that's inside time. Okay, kind of like, hey, nope. Kind of like being in a library as opposed to being on the playground. So, yeah, they're doing great. I couldn't be happier with both of them walking side by side, because the funny thing is once we're done doing that, they're like, wrestle time. But when I say their names and I start moving, they shut it off and we start walking. So let me see if I can get them to do that. Come. So just like that, it's a great little thing to practice, letting the dogs get crazy and wild, and then call them, and the wrestling stops and they follow you. And reward them when they do it, and you'll be amazed at how fast that happens. Alrighty, well, I'm doing this video, I'm doing this video at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and we'll see if it's even loaded by tonight. So 4 o'clock on Tuesday. I bet you'll be probably seeing this Wednesday morning, because YouTube sucks. All right, toodles.